Welcome back to LarryB Trace. So in this tutorial we're going to learn how to make this beautiful scallop detail that we see here. I made mine detachable, but it can also be sold to a dress, and I'll explain how to cut and sew this in this tutorial. If this is something you like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so there are many variations you can do to this. I'm going to be making mine a detachable scallop cape, but you can also sew it to your dress. So I'm going to be showing you the two in this video. So I have my plain paper here. We are making this together with a dress, then you can just create your cape on the pattern that you have already created for your dress. But this we're going to be making it from scratch. So the first thing I'm going to do is to get my shoulder measurement. The shoulder is 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. So I have 7.5 here. So for my neck width, I'm working with 3 inches. I'm drafting both front and back on the same paper. So the neck depth for the back, I'm working with 1.5. For the front, I'm working with 3 inches. And then I'm going to go ahead and create my neckline curve. So this is for the back and this is for the front. So here for my shoulder slope, I'm coming down by 1 inch on the shoulder point, and I'm going to connect it to my neck point with my ruler, just like that. So this is just like drafting a mini bodice. So after that, this has a keyhole at the neckline area. Okay, so with the keyhole you don't have to open the back, so make it easy for you to wear. So for the keyhole, depending on what you want, I think I want the length of my keyhole to be around, from the start, I want it to stop around 6.5 inches, which is here. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my curved ruler to do this keyhole. Remember, this is a half bodice, so I don't want it too wide by the time I cut it into the other side. So I'm just using my curved ruler to create that. But for measurements sake, you can just get the midpoint of the two, and then on that midpoint you can measure like 1/4 of an inch, and then you curve. I hope you understand. So the next thing we're going to start doing now is to create our scallop. So we have like 3 in front and then 3 at the back. So to make this easy for me, I'm going to be creating the first scallop. So for the first scallop, it's going to be the center area. So you need to note how long you want this to be, so the total length that you want for this. So for me, I think around 9 inches is fine from the upper part. So I'll just make it into like a straight line. I don't need it, it's just going to be a guide. That's why I'm doing this with a pencil. So I don't want the scallop to go beyond this length. So now I have this as the first length. So the next thing I'm going to do as a guide as well, I'm going to have 2 at the center front, and then 1 is going to be towards the arm area. So for me not to exceed that, remember I have 7.5 inches as my shoulder. I'm going to mark the 7.5 inches as well here, and then I'll connect that, which means my first 2 scallop is going to be here, and then the last one is going to be on the arm area. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do is to divide the space that I have here into 3. So 7.5 divided by 3 is 2.5. So I'll have 2.5 here, I'll have 5 inches here, and then I'll have 7.5. I hope that is clear as well. So now to create the first scallop, from where you remember I said this is the total, the longest length I want for it, and that is what I marked with my pencil. So from that longest length, I want the hack to be around the same place where my keyhole stop. It does not have to be that. That's what I want for mine, and I have about 2.5 inches here. So from here now, I'm going to measure 2.5 inches upward from the first. Remember, we divided this into 3. 1, 2, 3. So from this first one, I'm going to mark 2.5 inches upward like this. you can see it's on the same line with my keyhole, and like I said, it can be higher, it can be lower depending on what you want. I'm just using that as a guide. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and connect for this first scallop. So I'm connecting from here to the longest length. Okay, so this is the first scallop. So now for the second scallop, it's going to be between here and here. Remember I said we are going to have 2 here, and then the third one is going to be on the shoulder. So for the second one now, I don't want it to be on the same length with the longest part. So because of that, remember for this I came up with around 2.5 inches. So here at the midpoint, I'm going to come up with around 1/2 inch, 1.5 inches, which is here. Remember this was 2.5 inches. So from the longest part here, I'm coming up by 1.5 inches, and then again I'm going to take my ruler and connect like this. So you can connect it in bits, or you connect it with the shoulder, whichever one you wish to work with is fine. Okay, so this is half of it. So now to complete this, I'm going to go over to my armhole line, and then you measure where you want it to be. But I don't want it to be too down, so that the arm is going to be easy to raise the arm. So from my shoulder point, I'm going to come down by around 5 inches from here. Okay, and then I'm going to take my ruler, curved ruler, and then complete this curve that I have here. Okay, so this is going to be for my second scallop. I hope the camera took this. So for the first one, from the longest part, I came up by 2.5 inches and connected. So for the second one, at the midpoint here, I came up by 1.5 inches, connected here, and then from the shoulder I came down by 5 inches, and then we connect. So the last one we need to create is the one that goes to our arm. So for that, we need to extend this to create like a sleeve illusion. So here now, depending on how big your arm is, you can make it between 3 to 4 inches is fine. So I'm going to work with 3.5 inches. You can see I'm placing my tip from where my shoulder stops to this point. Okay, that is where it's going to be. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to create where this arm is like where the sleeve is going to stop before I create the scallop. So for that, you can measure it, but I think I'm just going to work with what I have here. So I'm going to measure what I have from here downwards, and I have 3.5 inches. So I'm marking that, and then I'm making sure that I have that at 3.5 inches, or you can just increase it by 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch. This is just so that it's going to be free for the hand to pass through. So here now, like I said, this is like the sleeve of the dress. So now I don't want it to be on the same level with the shoulder. I want it to just be a little higher, so that I can have like a hack, something like a fork around that area. For that, I'm going to use my curved ruler to connect from here to here to here. So if you have a better curve, you can use it. This is an armhole curve, so if there is anywhere that is bending, I'm just going to try to blend it in. But the major thing I want you to see is that this is higher a little bit than what we have there, and you can also take it in bits if it's not giving you what you want. I'm just trying to get something there, so I'm connecting like this, and then to where the hack is, so you can see what we have there. So the last thing to do now is to create this final hack. So to do that as well, I'm going to try to get the midpoint. So this is 4 inches. So the midpoint of this from here is going to be 2 inches, which is here. So for the depth of the hack as well, I want it really low. So I'm going to maintain the depth that I have for my center front here, which is the 9 inches, which is the line that we have here, the pencil line that we have there. So you don't have to make it higher. You can maintain what you have here by coming up by 1.5 inches or even more If that is what you want, then you cuff like this. But for me, I want this cuff to be a little pronounced, so that's why I'm maintaining what I have there. So from there, I'm going to connect from here to here, and then from there to the sleeve length. So this is like my sleeve length. This is where the sleeve length is going to stop. This is just like the scallop design. So here I'm going to look for a way to get a really nice curve there. If I can't get it at once, I'm going to just draw what I have here, and then I'm going to blend it together later on, just to give me something coffee and what I really want. Okay, so now this is what I have. So this part, you have to notch it. This way you stop sewing. It's very important to note where your sleeve stops. So this is what the design is going to look like. You can use the same design for both front and back, but for me, I'm going to be changing the center back because I don't want the center back to be this long. Remember, it does not have the keyhole. So for the center back, what I'm going to do is just to create like a design at the center back there. So from the center back here, from the upper part, I'm going to measure 5 inches, which is here. I'm using a pencil because I don't want us to be confused. So here I'm marking the same, like 2.5 inches or 2.5 inches or 2.25. This is just me creating what I want. And then from the hack, I'm just going to increase this hack upwards like this. So this is the shape that I'm going to be having for the back, and this is the shape for the front. So you understand this better when we're cutting it. So now I'm going to grab my scissors, and then I'll go ahead and cut out this shape that we have for us to replicate it on our fabric. So you carefully cut around the hack that you have created. So if you have done this on your actual pattern, so you just get your tracing rule, and then you use that to trace it out. You can basically work with any shape of your choice. It does not have to be this. You can make your hack even more than what we have here. So if you are not having a keyhole at the center like this, it means for yours you are going to create like an opening at the back for buttons or zipper. If you are sewing it to a dress, you sew it to your zipper allowance of the dress, and if it's detachable, you just create space for a button so that you can wear it easily. So we are going to cut the back neckline first, so that we'll be able to cut it, then later we'll cut the front. So this is what the shape of the scallop looks like now. So I'll go ahead and cut this on my fabric. I'm using this Ankara fabric, so I'm cutting the back first. But like I said, because this has an opening that is sufficient to wear it in front, this keyhole, you can cut your back on fold. That way the back is not going to be opened at all. But if you don't have a keyhole at the back, the neck is going to be tight, so you may need to cut the back as well on fold, so that you have opening to wear it. So for me, I think I'm just, you may need to add zipper allowance, sorry, like this. You're going to place your pattern like this so that you have a zipper allowance. But if you have opening, you can cut it on fold so that it can be together. So but for the purpose of this tutorial, I think I'm just going to cut it with allowance so that you can see. So I'm going to just sew up the allowance later. Okay, so if you're adding allowance, you just place like this and add your 1 inch allowance for your zipper. But if you're not adding allowance, you're just going to cut it on fold so that everything is going to come out together. So I'm going to pin it now, and then I'll go ahead and cut. So I've gone ahead to cut this, and you can see that I added allowances around it. So here now where the shoulder stops, I'm going to make a notch there, so that when I'm sewing I can easily pick that place out. Okay, so that's my notch right there. So now the next thing now is to open this up. Remember, this is the zipper allowance. I'm doing this because I just want to show you how to have zipper allowance to it. If you were to be sewing this to a dress, I'm going to close mine up. So that's my zipper allowance right there. So remember, the shape for the back is going to be different, but I'm not going to be cutting it now. So I'm going to cut it after I have cut. If I cut it now, it will cut off all the shape that I have for the front. So I'm just going to remove my pins and cut the front. So another way you can do this, after drafting your pattern, you can trace the back pattern separately, so that you'll be able to do whatever it is I want to do. So this is my back pattern. Now I'm going to cut out the neckline and the keyhole for the front, so that I can cut the front as well. That's the neckline, and this is the keyhole that I'm going to have for the front. So I'll place this and cut the front as well. Okay, so this is the front, and for the front, remember to cut it on fold, because the front has to be one single piece. So now I'm detaching it, and then I'm going to go ahead and add a gum stay to this, because I want it to be structured. I want it to stand well. So this is what we have for the front now. You can see the design that we have there for our front. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and add my gum stay to this, and then I'm going to bring it back. So I cut 2 for the front and 2 for the back, because I'm using the same fabric for both lining and fabric. If you're using separate fabric, you just need to cut 1. So now for the back, I'm going to bring it back and then reshape it. So now I can cut out this shape that I want for my back. So I'm going to place it on it now, and then I can reshape the back as well. Remember, it has like it has a zipper allowance there, so don't forget that. So now after placing, the easy way you can do this is to just trace out your back separately, like I explained. But because I want to use the same pattern to cut both front and back, that's why I did not do that. So you can see the shape that I have for my back, and this is my 1-inch seam zipper allowance. So this is the shape that my back is going to take, and you can see that I have 2 for both front and back as well. So I'll go and add interfacing to this and bring it back. Okay, so I have added gum stay to it, and you can see what I have. This is the front, and these are the back panels. So now what I'm going to do, we are going to sew the lining separately and the main fabric separately. So I'm going to be placing them on each other like this. That place where we notched, let me re-notch it so that you can see it well. Okay, that's where you're going to stop sewing. So I'm going to join the shoulder like this, the arm area, the sleeve area, from the notched part all the way to the shoulder and the neckline. I'm going to do that for both lining and main fabric on the 2 sides. Then we're going to use the lining to turn the main fabric. I hope you understand that. So I'm just making my notches visible. So I'll pin it and go ahead and sew on the neckline through the shoulder to where I notched for both the lining and the main fabric. So I have gone ahead to sew it. So what I'm going to do is to notch or reduce your seam allowance so that it can lay well. So after that, we are going to use them to turn each other. So one is going to be my lining and one is going to be the main bodies. They are all curved, so That's why the notch is important. So now I'm flipping it to see what I have. So just like you turn your normal bodies, so what we need to do is to use the lining to turn the hem. I'm going to be adding a collar to this. I'm going to add like a bishop collar and rope to tie it in front. So I'm not going to turn the neckline, but if you are not adding collar to yours, you will need to turn your neckline together with it. So for me, I'm not turning my neckline. So what I'm going to be doing is to place right side on right side like this, and then I'll start to pin. I'm going to turn the keyhole part, not the main neckline, not this. I'm going to turn this keyhole part, and then I'm going to turn the hem as well. So you just make sure that they match, and then you pin everything together. Pinning makes your work easier. So after pinning them together, I went ahead to sew it. So like I said, you place the right side together, and then you sew around your hem. This is the same. So make sure you pin your scallops against each other. So this is the center back. For me, I have sewn mine close because like I said, I'm not, you can also sew it separately first before turning everything together, but because of what I want to show, that's why I sew them like this, so that they can be independent. So the next thing now is to also carefully notch all of these scallops so that they can lay well. So I'm going to be turning it from this, remember I have closed this, so I'm turning it from the neckline. I did not sew the neckline, I just sewed the opening area. After notching it, what I'm going to do is to turn it to the right side from the neckline area, and then we'll go ahead and iron it. So you have to do this carefully because of this narrow part. So I'm just going to be pulling it out bit by bit. So I pull out everything. If you do not close your center back, it's going to make it easier for you. Okay, so you just need to turn it out, and then you iron it. So you can see that everything is neatly concealed now. So you go ahead and iron. So like I was saying, this is a detachable one. So I'm going to be measuring the neckline and cutting a collar for it. But if you are sewing it to a ready-made dress, I just want to use this small baby dress to explain to us. So remember, you must have your neckline, the neckline of your dress, and this cape have to be exactly the same. If you draft it out of the pattern, of course it's going to be the same. So what you just need to do is to place the neckline against each other like this, and then you sew it down. You make sure you match them together. You match the shoulder, you match the front, you match everything. You just match the neckline. This is a baby dress, so it cannot go wrong. So after matching the neckline together, you are going to use your lining to turn it over. You can see this is the zipper area together with the zipper allowance. You are going to sew everything together. That's why you need to have zipper allowance to it if you are sewing it. And if you do not have a zipper allowance, you just need to turn it neatly like this, and then you just place it beside your zipper, and then you sew it down. Okay, so you can use your lining to turn. So if you are not using a lining for your dress, okay, what you just need to do is to make sure that this is how it's supposed to be on each other. So what you just need to do is to flip the dress, and then you sew like this, so that by the time you flip it over, everything is going to be neatly turned. I hope you understand that. But in my own case, I'm making it completely detachable, so I'm going to be finishing the neckline with a collar. I have already gone ahead to cut out my collar. You just need to measure your neckline round to cut the collar, and then on the collar you can see I have a strap. I just got a strap, and then I sew it to the collar. So this strap is what I'm going to use to be tying it in front like this. So what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and sew my center back together, and then I'm going to sew my collar all around it. I'll do this and bring it back to show. So after joining your collar, this is what you're going to have. You just tie it to the neck and it is ready to wear. So you can see how easy it is to make. You can see the design that we have at the back as well. That's because I don't want the same design at the center front to be at the back. You can choose whatever design you want. I hope you enjoy making this beautiful tutorial with me. If you enjoyed this, let us know in the comment section. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.